know, this is a rat race, but I'm no rat. I'm a fucking turtle, ninja turtle. So which one's your favorite? I like Michelangelo.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 256, Brandon Moreno versus Deiveson Figueiredo. It's a championship flyweight title fight. We're going to talk about that one. We're also going to be talking about Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. I think a fantastic fight, a fight that probably I'm more excited about just to watch than any other fight on the card, but very excited about that. We're going to talk about those two free plays. We're coming off a 2-in-1 night on the client plays. Did miss on Jose Quinones, did hit on Jamal Hill, was happy about that. But the thing about that there was that, you know what, Quinones, I thought he was going to pull it out. The big path to victory for him was going to be kind of staying on the outside, working from the outside, and if he had to use some grappling, he does have that background. The only path to victory for Smolka was going to be going in there and grappling and getting it to the ground. And a place that he is not very successful is takedown opportunities. He was not good at really getting his opponent there. Quinones, first round, looked good, on the feet, doing what he should be doing, and then he goes in for the grappling and looks for the takedown. Smolka's great there. He walked right into what Smolka does best. But overall, we were able to add 3% to clients' bankrolls again. So listen, we're at 65% return on investment. 2 more UFC events to finish off the year. Very excited about it, and just want to really finish off strong here. We're going to definitely be in profit for 2020 by far, and got to keep it going, so definitely link down in the description. You will find another package for Wagertalk plays, but if you're not interested in that, we are going to talk 2 free plays here for UFC 256. So the first one we're going to be talking about is the main event of the evening between Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. And this is a fight here. Now you've got Figueiredo, he is a minus 355. On the comeback on Moreno is plus 270. Wide line here. I've got a prop that I do like that we're going to talk about, but I'm going to break down. And again, we've talked about these guys not too long ago because they did fight not very long ago. So don't have to dive too much into it. Going to kind of run through these pretty quickly, then get into the Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira fight next. So now if you take a look here, 3 fights ago for Deiveson Figueiredo, he fought Joseph Benavidez. Now this is the first time that they fought here. Again, not going to dive into this one too much here, but the thing here with this was that, that first round, Benavidez looked pretty good. He was on the outside, utilizing some of his striking, keeping good footwork. He's got the wrestling background, but quick hands, quick boxing. And, he was doing his job with some nice volume on Figueiredo. And then going into that second round, the issue there was pretty much an incidental headbutt, which ended up really rocking Benavidez. Benavidez kind of fell back. Figueiredo threw a big shot, ended up KOing him, knocking him out. Now the big thing there was Benavidez was, kind of saying, hey, I really had that really strong first round, and then going into that second round, I was really picking up momentum. Headbutt happens, it ends. Figueiredo on the other side, you got to take a look at his side and saying, hey, you know what? It wasn't called, it wasn't stopped. He got the finish, ended up knocking him out. So then they run it back. So in that fight there, it was Figueiredo who did get the victory. But going to this second fight here is really where you saw, I think, Figueiredo really make that leap of just what his ability is and what he can really do. And there was a lot of question marks kind of going into that first fight because, Figueiredo has had some nice victories. He's looked good. But can he beat somebody like Benavidez? He does it off of a headbutt. There were questions. We go into this fight here, and this was an absolute domination for Deiveson Figueiredo. I mean, he goes out there and just did a spectacular job. I mean, within that first exchange, dropped Benavidez, got back up, dropped him again, almost choked him out early in that first round, and kept pouring it on. And the thing about Benavidez, he's got great scrambling ability. He's able to kind of squirm out of there. He's very strong in the clinch, very strong in the ground, able to kind of, maneuver his way out of there. He was able to get up, but it didn't take long before Figueiredo did the exact same thing that he's able to do. Go out there, dropped him again, found the back, got a hold of his back, and pretty much at that point, it was only a matter of time. Benavidez taps out, Figueiredo becomes a champion, and then at that point shows that his dominance within this division. So he goes out there and gets that victory by first round submission. Now, most recently, the one I want to talk about here is this is one we did talk about on the show, and it was against Alex Perez. This was one that I liked Perez. Now, I know that, I'm going to take a little heat for that one, but I know that, Figueiredo going into that fight, for me, you're beating somebody like Benavidez, and, nothing against him. He's been a long-standing fighter within the UFC, title challenger, beat some really tough guys, looked good in spots, but just at the end of his career. And now you're fighting somebody like Perez, who Perez definitely is a strong fighter, got grappling, has power, good wrestling, well-rounded fighter overall, and that's the kind of thing where I think that really sits well against somebody like Figueiredo. I thought that this was going to be something he could really dictate a little bit more of the positioning on the ground, and he has the power, he's kind of putting it all together. And Figueiredo goes out there in this spot and looked, again, the part of a champion. And the one thing I thought that was very interesting was that how much bigger Figueiredo looked from weigh-ins to when he fought. I mean, that is one thing that I think, he had to be 155 pounds. I think even Joe Rogan talked about it when they were, or whoever the announcer was, how big he looked. And you really could see that, one, that Perez is a big guy to begin with, but you had Figueiredo who looked bigger and still lean and cut, which is just really impressive, just how he retained water, how he was able to hydrate again, looked great out there, but he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He goes out there, he looked confident, he looked comfortable, good movement around, they were both exchanging a little bit there, both landing, but the one spot I think that, showed how good Figueiredo was is the transitions. Perez kind of had him up against the fence, trying to get something going. Perez kind of maneuvered down to like a leg lock or something to that effect. And even Perez was saying, hey, I'm going to take you down. I'm a wrestler. I'm going to take you down. I'm going to try to see what I can do on the ground. It took a matter of seconds that as soon as he got to the ground, Figueiredo sinks in a guillotine choke, finishes him in that first round. And just a lot going on there in such a small amount of time. And the way he was able to move, what he was able to do. Figueiredo shows power. He's shown his power, shown his striking, shown his rangy striking, and continues to show some of that grappling ability that he does have and how well-rounded he is. So he goes out there and gets the victory in that first round. Now on the other side, you've got Brandon Moreno. And again, this is another guy that I had talked about. He was a client play winner when he fought against Brandon Royval. But we're going to talk about 3 fights ago, he fought Kai Kara-France. Now, Kara-France is a guy that comes from city kickboxing, has a great team around him, a lot of hype behind Kara-France also. He was the kind of guy that people were really kind of building upon, thought he was really going to get to that next level. But he goes up there and he faces Moreno. And this was a fight here where I think both kind of, early in that, Moreno was the kind of guy who likes to, he likes to push forward, likes to push out that volume, likes to move around a little bit. He was letting a nice jab, and that's something that he's gonna need to use going into this fight against Figueiredo. If he wants to kind of mix it up, he's gonna have to pop the jab out, keep some space, utilize some of those weapons to kind of work the pace into his favor. And the thing also is that Moreno showed the pressure that Figueiredo likes to show in times, where he likes to bully. And this was something here where Figueiredo looked fantastic, where he was really, leading the dance, keeping him up against the fence, pushing him up against the fence, setting the pace, landed big shots, not scared to stand in the pocket. Now, again, that's something I think you're going to see on Saturday night, where you've got Figueiredo, a guy that likes to be in the pocket also, but then will level change. And Moreno is, that the Mexican fighters are just, it's in their blood to have just, when it comes to boxing, when it comes to MMA, they love to scrap, bang, they don't care if they're bleeding, an arm's broken, they will keep going forward, keep firing. Moreno is definitely cut from that cloth. And in this fight here, he goes out there, has a really nice showing, really overall, from beginning to end, showed strong striking, good movement, a lot of confidence in there. He goes out there and gets the victory, gets a decision victory against Kai Kara-France. 2 fights ago, he fought Formiga. Now, this was a fight here, I think, that shows a little bit more of what else Moreno can do. And, he showed a lot of striking in his fight against Kara-France, and in this kind of fight here, he did show that he's got grappling. He does have the grappling. And Formiga, who definitely has high-level grappling, high-level ground game, goes into there, and there were certain spots where it looked like Moreno was really in trouble. There were spots where he didn't look good, or maybe didn't look good, but was in a very dangerous position and was able to scramble out of it. And I thought that says a lot about what's going to happen, because if Figueiredo gets him to the ground, he's going to have something to counter that, because obviously if they're both going to be bullying forward, or if they're both going to be having those exchanges, he's going to have to be able to get out of that. And I thought he looked great in multiple spots against Formiga, who has that high level grappling, but goes out there. I think, again, to quickly kind of go over this one, he just looked, I thought Moreno looked really great, but I think that the nugget out of this is that Moreno has that ability to get out of some of those really tough grappling and ground, situations, and I think that's something he's going to have going into Saturday night. So he goes out there and he gets that victory. And then most recently we did see it was a client play cash against Brandon Royval, and against Royval. Royval is another guy, a surging guy, looked great. But this was a spot here where, early striking, both of them were firing, both of them were looking to land big shots, fire. And then it was the takedown. And it was really Moreno got that takedown and got Royval to the ground. And that was something where, again, now what can he do with it? He does have nice ground and pound. We've seen Moreno in other fights have nice ground and pound, cause some damage, pile up some damage. Then you go into a clinching exchange. And again, it was another spot where you did see that Moreno was on the ground and kind of a side, maybe, kind of side back kind of position that he kind of had. And in that spot there, Moreno was we're hunting for submissions, couldn't get the choke. It looked like he was going to get the choke, and then something happened to Royval's arm. Something just went off. I don't know what it really was. Looked like he was hurt, but he was able to kind of scramble him over, ground and pound, finish the fight in that first round with about 2 seconds left. But a really good showing again from Moreno, right down the board. I mean, these are three really good fighters that he fought. Kyle France, Formiga, and Royval, three really good fighters. He fought them all, ended up beating them pretty much in a dominating fashion, not in trouble in too many of them. So there you have it on that fight there. So with that all being said, the thing here we're going to take a look at is, obviously you've got Moreno. He is tough. He's well-rounded, he's tough, he's got the ground and pound, and the great scrambling ability that he's going to have to use going in Saturday night. He's got power, and he likes to bully. He likes to go forward, he likes to bully, he likes to push forward, push the volume out. Smaller cage it's going to be on Saturday night, so you're also going to have to see how that, dictates the pace. We've got a guy like Formiga who's going to look to fire, who has the power, has the strength. But you got Formiga on the other side, and he switches stances from southpaw to orthodox very well. Has good volume, good striker, good distance management, and he's very confident and comfortable in those exchanges. He definitely has great hand speed. Now the big thing here is people keep talking about is the cardio. Now, is this a situation where if it goes to those deeper rounds, what we really haven't seen for him at all for Figueiredo, that going into those the fourth and fifth rounds, and can he really dig deep and get through it? Those are things that I think that Moreno kind of has to push this fight further and not look to bang early if he wants to have some kind of success. But the part here I think that is the biggest part here is, one, is the fact that Moreno was going to look to stand toe-to-toe. He's not going to be scared. He knows this is a big moment for him, and he's going to look to stand toe-to-toe and trade, and he's not scared to trade. And the fact that Moreno's very hittable. He's the kind of guy that is willing to kind of, take one to give one. He'll take one to at least just get in close, get in tight. That's not going to work very well against Figueiredo. Figueiredo has that power, has that opportunity where he's going to find those openings, cause damage. If he has to level change, he will. But when he's looking to bully, Figueiredo's not a guy that's going to be backing off of that. He's going to have the quicker hand speed, although Moreno does have nice hand speed. I definitely like, obviously, Figueiredo to win this fight here. I don't think there's, I can't bet it at a minus 355, but I like him to go out there and get this victory against Moreno. Now, for me, the spot here to bet is going to be inside the distance here. Now, you've got inside the distance, and you've got it varying from minus 130 to minus 150. I got it at minus 140, and this is a spot here where I think it's worth it. In a 5-round fight, I think you've got Moreno, who's the kind of guy that is going to look to stand and trade. He's not going to back down, and he definitely has, he's shown that he's got a chin, he's shown that he can take a shot, but I think Figueiredo is going to be able to really push forward, whether he's going to look for the takedown, whether he's going to look for some ground and pound, where he's going to look for the submission, where he's going to look to trade and strike. You know what, I am now on the train of Figueiredo here, and I think that he goes out there. I think that this is just too much for Moreno. I think that if he kind of has a couple more fights and maybe builds, but this is a spot here where it just made sense for the UFC to make this fight. I think that you got Figueiredo who can go out there and really steamroll this here. I think the straight line is kind of fair. I would put him at this kind of range here, where this far apart. I think that's how much Figueiredo can go out there and get this victory. So for me here, I'm taking Deiveson Figueiredo inside the distance to win -140. Now the other fight we're going to talk about here is Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. This is a great fight here. I mean, this is a fight where you've got Tony Ferguson coming off a loss, and then you've got Charles Oliveira, who is on a 7-fight winning streak, looked fantastic. All these submission victories that he's got on his resume, really shown great success here. Now you've got Tony Ferguson, he is a -184. You've got Oliveira is a +148. Now I'm going to run down again quickly each of the last 3 fights for both of these guys. You've got 3 fights ago, you've got Tony Ferguson faced Anthony Perez. This is a fight here where, you know what, the high-level striking of Perez versus the insane, unorthodox ability of Tony Ferguson. In that first round there, I thought it was pretty close. I thought it was a pretty close first round, but I think the big part about this here was the fact that that knee. Now, coming off of the surgeries that Tony Ferguson had, he had that knee, big surgeries. He did all of the, rehabilitation on his own, which is just ridiculous and a total Tony Ferguson thing to do. But you saw that Perez looked to shoot for that right away. He was firing, he threw about 4 or 5 leg kicks right out the gate, and you could tell that right away that Ferguson was limping. He ended up kind of, it looked like he ended up kind of getting out of it, but that's just definitely a weak spot where I think everyone is going to look and chip away at in any fight. But going in there, then from there, you saw Tony with the pressure. I mean, that's something as the pressure, the volume, the output is just insanely high. His cardio is off the charts. Those are the things where he can break a fighter. And Perez looked very comfortable early. He was kind of outside firing, moving around, was able to utilize some of his footwork, his good kickboxing. He was able to do a lot of that, from the outside. But then Tony just cuts that distance, pushes forwards, and that's where started to break Perez. Going into that second round, it was a lot of firing there, but you did see, Perez did rock Ferguson, kind of does this crazy forward roll, and then it looked like Perez was on top and was going to end up, really causing a lot of damage. But from that spot there, somehow Ferguson gets up, and blood on both sides. What a war it was. It was an insane fight. But you did see how Ferguson, it's just hard to break this guy. It's just really hard to break this guy. Even in tough situations, even in hard situations, he's bleeding, he's beaten up, his legs hurt. He can keep moving forward. He pulls out this victory, doctor stoppage, something to do with Anthony Perez's hand broken, whatever it may be. But Perez ends up kind of giving up there, doctor stoppage. Ferguson gets that victory. Then you got 2 fights ago. He fought Donald Cerrone. And this was another fight here, another doctor stoppage, which is just insane, back-to-back doctor stoppages. And early on, I thought the pressure was pretty good on both. They both started landing some good shots. They both started, but then it was, again, those insane elbows that come out of Tony Ferguson from very creative angles. Goes out there, hurts Cerrone. Cerrone ends up blowing his nose, pops the eye, gets all kind of crazy, and doctor stoppage there too. So I'm not going to dive into that one too much. But again, the high volume of Ferguson again was on display where, Cerrone was kind of standing in the pocket and saying he's going to take these shots. He's going to stand toe to toe with them. But then it was just too much. Ended up kind of ending in almost a spot where he wanted to see more. Cerrone wanted to keep going. Doctors end that fight. So there you have it on that one. Ferguson gets that victory. And then most recently, Ferguson fought Justin Gaethje. This is a fight here that I did pick Gaethje to go out there and get this victory. And you saw early in that fight where really Gaethje was looking for the big knockout. He was coming off all these first-round knockouts, impressive finishes, and he was looking for this big knockout. Couldn't get it, and that was really where it kind of opened up opportunities for Ferguson to land. That was starting to be where you go into the corner, and you did hear Gaethje's corner saying, listen, take it easy, relax. No need for you to look for that big shot. No need at all for you to look for that big shot. Just take a little bit off and land them. Don't get out of position. Don't fire. And from there, it was just a dominating showing from start to finish from there. It was all Gaethje. Gaethje was just outstriking, outlanding, mixing it up really well, kept moving around, never was really in trouble I don't think at any point that I do remember, but pretty much it was start to finish from him. He goes out there, ends up finishing him in that 5th round. So Ferguson goes out there and loses against Justin Gaethje. Then you've got Charles Oliveira. You got 3 fights ago. He fought Nick Lentz. Not going to dive into this one too much. He goes out there against Nick Lentz, lands some nice shots, ends up dropping Nick and then getting on top. Nice ground and pound. Gets the 2nd round TKO. Not a submission because you keep seeing all these submission victories from Oliveira, but he goes out there and gets the finish. And then against Jared Gordon, not going to dive into this one too much either because it was a first-round knockout for Charles Oliveira. Gordon, not the greatest fighter overall, but I thought that, again, you see the slowly incremental increase and elevation of striking for Charles Oliveira, which I think is very, very important going into this fight against Tony Ferguson Saturday night. But most recently, he fought Kevin Lee. Now, this was a fight here where, you know what, I think, again, you saw that elevation where, you know, Charles Oliveira is known for this grappler, known for this submission specialist and all these things. He's really starting to put a lot of that together. And I thought this was a great showing. You saw that first round, you know, Charles Oliveira is doing these jump kicks and these flying acrobatic shots and looked smooth striking, looked a lot more comfortable than I think that he has in other fights, consistently getting better, consistently looking better. He went out there and I thought he fought a great fight against a tough fighter in Kevin Lee. And Kevin Lee did get some takedowns, but, you know, Charles Oliveira is very comfortable in some of those spots where he's able, you know, he's on top. But the thing about Kevin Lee is he's strong. And he was able to kind of keep him there, keep him in those positions, but never really caused any damage. So he was able to get him down, but not able to cause damage. That was the key part there. But then again, you know, Charles started to see what was happening, that he was shooting in with his head down, ends up getting a guillotine choke, finishes off Kevin Lee with another submission victory. So there you have it there on the rundown. With this all being said, I mean, obviously you've got, you know, Tony Ferguson is unorthodox, awkward striking, creative, has a ton of weapons, uses his elbows, good off his back. Those are a lot of the things that he does fantastically well when it comes down to just the way he strikes. But the one thing for me that really sticks out here is who Tony Ferguson has fought over this time frame. Now, he's beaten some absolute top-level guys. He's fought really just a great resume of fighters, beaten men, all of them, I feel like, up until Gaethje. But the thing here is he hasn't really fought a pure grappler. You know, he hasn't really had to face anybody like that. Now, he did face Kevin Lee, and he did fight Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee did get a couple takedowns on Ferguson, had top control. But the thing here, and a little asterisk next to that, is the fact that, you know, Kevin Lee had staph infection. You know, and he, you know, you could see that Kevin Lee did not have that energy. Even when he got him down that last time, and even after he was submitted, I mean, he could almost not even stand up. I mean, he had no energy. That's a big knock, I think, on that part. But besides for Kevin Lee, he has not fought grapplers, and they're pure strikers, mostly guys who are going to stand and trade, where he's going to have a lot more of the grappling side advantage compared to his opponent. Here against Charles Oliveira, is, I believe, is going to have the better grappling, and the striking is going to be close. And now this was a situation also where, you know, if this fight was taking place, I don't know, 5 years ago or a couple years ago, or maybe before the injury or all these other things, maybe the fight I would think a little bit differently here. You know, I would think a little differently here. But after the MMA mileage that he's had and just the beating that he just took, where he is with his age, coming off coming off that knee injury, although he has had success since then, but just things can't get better in that side of things. Things can just not get better. And you've got Charles Oliveira on the other side, who has just insane grappling, always hunting for submissions. You know, you've seen what he can do, where he consistently is elevating his striking. That is enormous, I think, and the fact that he's gaining confidence in that striking, I think, is huge for him here. And this nice 7-fight winning streak, I mean, there's a lot to like about him. And again, the big thing for me is just getting the fact that, you know, one, can Charles Oliveira take him down? Does he want to take him down? That's going to be a situation. But I think that the elevated striking for him is there. But the fact that Ferguson just really has not faced a guy who just is completely well-rounded, who's going to look for the takedowns, that's going to look to do that. I think this really opens up a nice spot for Charles Oliveira, who is on the surging side of things, who has beaten some, you know, maybe not the highest level guys that he's beaten, but he has looked great. And this is a good spot for him here. He's hungry. You've got Tony Ferguson coming off a beating, you know, on the downturn. You know, how much does he really have left? Tony Ferguson has been such a fantastic fighter. We all love watching him. He brings so much excitement to the cage. But I think this is a great spot for plus money here. I like Charles Oliveira here. I think at plus 158 is a good price here for me. At this point, I don't really like, you know, you're teetering up at the minus 200 range for Ferguson here. This is a dog or pass for me. I just can't put my money on Tony Ferguson in this spot here. I like Charles Oliveira, and again, for me, the way I'm laddering my plays here, 80% of my allotted amount of money per event is going on my client plays, and then anywhere from 15 to 20% is going on my free plays, parlays, anything like that. And the reason being, again, is I'm a quality over quantity kind of bettor, where I'm not looking to bet 8-9 fights. I'm looking for anywhere from, you know, 2 to maybe 4 or 5 fights to bet per event. Most of the time, like I said, I'm looking at about 3 or 4 per event. But there you have it on my free plays there. If you're interested on my Wagertalk plays, link down in the description. Take a look at the client plays. And this is going to be a fun one. We've got 2 more events left in 2020. We want to finish off strong. We are definitely hitting nice profit this year. Got to add some more to it. Want to finish off strong. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Kyle Anthony UFC. And there you have it. That's the prediction show. And I'll see you next time. This is Kyle Anthony's UFC prediction show. And I'll see you next time.